Is there anyone here who has gone through last week's classes who can give us an up-to-date overview of what we did last week? Please go ahead. Or do you want to say something?
Okay, I was not really regular with on last week's class, but I have been able to go through the videos, the first, second, and third videos, and it was really awesome. So in the class, in the video, I was able to get at least 99, almost everything that was taught in the class. We looked at the data sets. We looked at the introduction of Power BI. We saw how to bring in charts to the to visualization of Power BI, how there's websites where we can access our icons, where we can access our colors. We also looked at how to design our home page using Canvas and how to bring it into the Power BI interface. We looked at the data sets we worked on. We designed the page one and the page two, and also the insights and recommendation where you access to give us assignment where we have to populate our insight and recommendation by ourselves with the data that we did last week, summary of everything we did last week. Can you hear me?
Yeah, Paul, I
Hello?
can hear you. Yeah, you spoke about populating the insights and recommendations. So were you able to do that?
Yes, I did, and I shared in the group. I don't know if you saw it.
Oh, okay. If you just shared, I'm not sure I got that, but I will. Did you share it on the WhatsApp group or on the um Google Classroom?
On the WhatsApp group, that was 2 days ago.
Oh,
It's a
okay.
Sunday or that's Sunday or Monday.
Oh, okay. Okay. Oh, okay. Okay. You shared the completed Power BI report here. You are Skynet on the group.
Yes, yes, yes.
Oh, okay. 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 I checked that out already. All right. Thank you very much, Paul. Thank you for putting yourself to the test. Okay, that's brilliant. So all right. So I'd like to share my insights and recommendations if that's fine. Okay. So here you go. So this is how I wrote my insights and my recommendations. Similarly to how some of us might have written ours while we worked in Excel. So Paul, can you see my insights and recommendations? Did you do anything different?
Yeah, what mine? I don't have an inside bullet like yours, like the first one you're in your inside decline in month sales, but I just explained it out.
Okay. All right. So basically, I'm going to be sharing this when I finish publishing it today. So everyone who wants to take notes, maybe for the insights or one or two corrections, can just go ahead and apply one or two things from here, if that is fine with you. All right. So now, basically, from the last class, where we stopped was trying to populate this with the insights and the recommendations, which I gave a task to us to go ahead and give it a try. I'm impressed so far with the feedback that we've gotten from the class and how the students have tried. I'm very sorry for those of us who experienced one difficulty or the other. Thank you for reaching out on the group as well. So I'm going to start today's class by showing us how to publish. I'm going to be starting today's class by showing us how to publish. My show knows how to publish. Now, basically, if you can see my screen, can you just quickly help me verify that you can see my screen? I see we already have 8 people on the call.
Yes, we can see your screen.
All right. Adeyemi, please resume assistant teacher duties today. And whenever I ask for something, you can just unmute and give me feedback. You don't have to seek consent. Is that okay?
All right.
Yeah, thank you. So basically, before you all joined, I was trying to share with the class how I structured my insights and recommendations, because I believe this was where we stopped in the last class. And I was asking, Paul said he had done this. For any other person who had completed theirs, was it how you structured your insights and recommendations as well? If you're saying something, please go ahead and say something. Was it how you structured your insights and recommendations as well? I think Oluwadamlola, are you there?
Good evening.
Hey, good evening. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you.
Oh, okay. So I was asking if you were able to pull through with your report.
I've started actually, but I'm not done.
Oh, okay. So you've not pulled through to insights and recommendations.
No, I haven't.
Oh, okay. How about ADM?
I've done it.
Oh, okay. Was this how you structured the insights and recommendations as well?
Yes, something like this.
Okay. So what I'd like you all to do for me is I'm going to create a submission sort of thing in the classroom, and I'd like you all to send me your PBIX files, if that's fine. So Anna, I think Prince, Winnie. Let's start from Winnie. Winnie, were you able to put through with your report?
Yes, I have finished.
Oh, okay. That's interesting. I look forward to seeing your visuals then. Anna, how about Anna? Were you able to pull through as well?
Yes, good evening.
Hey, good evening, Anna.
Yes.
Up until insights and recommendations.
Yes, I'm sure it's my
Okay.
insights and recommendations. Although the way you made subtitle for each and every insights as well as the recommendation, I didn't do it like this, which is pretty nice. So, yeah,
Okay.
thank you.
All right. I think Prince was also very active last week. Prince.
Hi, Favor. Good evening. Good evening, everyone.
Hi, good evening, Prince. Yeah, so I was asking if you were able to pull through with your report last week.
Yes. I was able to do that, but I was unable to share that because it was requesting I should use my official email, which I'm not comfortable doing. Yes, but aside that, it's complete. Yes, I'm done up until the insights and recommendations part. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So quickly, let's get into what we have to do today. So far, well done to everybody. Well done to everybody. So now, basically, some of us have tried to publish our works, and we did have difficulties. So I'm going to be sharing with us how you can publish your work. Now, there are a few ways to go about it. Number one, you can publish directly to Power BI service, which is Power BI on the web. That is Power BI that is on your Microsoft account that you access through Microsoft Fabric. As you can see on my screen, you can see my Microsoft account is signed in here. This is my Microsoft mail here. You can see it is signed in. So if I wanted to publish this, if I wanted to publish this, all I have to do is on the Home tab, I'm going to click on Publish. Why? Because I already have a Microsoft account signed in and the account is functional. So I'm just going to click on where I want it to save into, and I'll click on an existing workspace. If you're familiar with how Microsoft Fabric already works, everything that you do there has to be done inside of a workspace. So I'm going to go ahead and publish this. And it's going to publish this PBIX file. Don't forget, I told us last week that just the same way an Excel workbook is XLSX. All right, so I'm going to say open in Power BI. So let me try to share you a preview of what it looks like on the web. Stay with me. All right. So can you see my screen now? Can you see Microsoft Fabric popping up? So this is Power BI service. All right, good. And this is how it looks like published. Now, let me just quickly walk us through how it's. Now you can see that you don't have access to visualizations and all of those panes that we had access to in Power BI text. Basically, all that you have here is the report itself and your buttons for navigation. So now, unlike in Power BI, where you have to press Ctrl-click to use the buttons, here it will click once, just like a website. So if whoever is viewing this now wants to go to page 1, all they have to do is click once, they go to page 1. And all the other buttons work the same way too. So this is the major essence of actually adding your buttons for navigation. So that when you come to the publication end, it becomes easier to navigate through. So unlike before where we have to start going through by pressing Ctrl-click here, all the navigation buttons work at once. And you can see here, we only have access to filters. So the filters pane. We do not have access to visualization because basically what you are giving whoever you are sending this to is access to the front end. What you do in Power BI desktop is the back end, what brought about these visualizations. So do we understand now? So whoever is viewing this from their end. Okay, Prince, you're raising your hand. Please, you have a question? Go ahead.
Yeah, so I have a question.
Yeah.
Yeah, so my question is this: on this Power BI service,
Yeah.
whoever that I'll be sharing it with, do they have, or does it have a feature that will grant edit right to the stakeholders or whoever that you're sharing the report with? Just like when you want to share a Google Sheet now to clients, so it's either you give them view right or edit right. So does it have that feature?
All right. So now, basically, anything that you publish here on Power BI service, all you are, like I said before, all you are giving them, whoever you are sending the link access to, is a view access. They are going to have to download the file locally. To, can you see download here? Download Power BI desktop to be able to make any manipulations. And whatever manipulations they make will not affect your own local file as well. Even if I come here and I click on share, it's just going to have me add another person's name. Okay, can you see? Can view and share. So that is all they are being given access to do, to view and share. If they want to make any edits, they are going to have to download the file locally and republish. So is that understood?
Yes, well understood. Thanks.
All right, thank you. All right. So do we have any questions on this before I then go back to what we had worked on before? If you have a question, please just go ahead and ask your question before I get right back into Power BI.
All right. So one more thing. I think that may sound funny. Can you hear me?
Yes, I'm sure.
All right. So one more thing that may sound funny. So is there no way I can, will I say, use the word hack by using my personal email rather than using official email? Is that not possible?
Well, how do I put it? Number one, it isn't. Part of the things that you need to have is either have an organizational or a school mail, a mail that ends with your edu.ng and all of that, or be subscribed to Microsoft's 365 plans, basically.
Wow, because what I did, can you hear me? So
Yeah, Mushu,
I
please.
just said let me just do a test run. So I opened an account with my official email just to even
Okay.
see how the interface is and all that. So and I was almost tempted to upload. One man was like, "Don't do this thing because if they call, it will be like this is a personal stuff. So why are you using the official stuff? Do you get? Because people will be coming
Yeah,
into they'll be coming into your account to view your report and all that. So I'm like, there's no point uploading. Let me just maybe I'll ask you, during our class to see if there is a way I can hack and use my personal email and then do that. But since you say it's not possible, that's fine. I'll move on from there.
okay. All right. Paul, your hand is up. Please go ahead and say something. Hey, Paul, your network is breaking real
I
bad.
think there is a way of Can you hear me?
All right, I think I can hear you now. Please go ahead.
Okay, I say I think there is a way of getting a Microsoft developer account freely. It's on YouTube. I did it quite like 2 years ago. That is what I'm using. I'm using a Microsoft developer account freely, which renews itself every year. Although if you are using the account, the renewal will be free every year. That's what I'm using. I opened mine 2 years ago. I'm still using it till now. So I think they should go to YouTube and look for a way. If I see the link again, I'll still post it on group, maybe for the end.
All right. Actually, Paul, thank God you said 2 years ago. Now, there's been a few restrictions on the usage and creation of Microsoft developer accounts, such as that there are some countries no longer have access to it. And most people who created some accounts that were dormant, some of those accounts have been taken down. Before, I used to use the Microsoft developer account. Due to inactivity for a while, I lost the account and I had to eventually get a 365 subscription. So basically, that is that on that. But I know that Microsoft developers account did work then. All right. So now, another way through which you can, should I say, export your visuals is just that this other way will take out the advantage of interactivity. That is, all you'll be able to do is to send it as a PDF or take screenshots of it, maybe for sake of publications on Medium or publications on LinkedIn. So another thing that I always advise students to do is, if your laptop can screen record, particularly as a video, go ahead, take a video of you walking through the interface. Thank God that most of us are still at a stage of building for publicity, building to try to develop our reputation as analysts online. So that's another way you can put your work out online. Screen record and walk through the interface. If you can add a voiceover, if you are confident enough, go ahead and do that. If not, just go ahead and walk through the interface of your reports. That's another very useful way that, okay, maybe you are doing it for the sake of putting out what you've done online, maybe on LinkedIn or on any of your social media platforms. I hope we are still together. So let me show us how to save your file as a PDF. So just click on the file tab here, and then we come to export. So you see export to PDF. You see export to PDF, right from export, and then we click on export to PDF. Mind you, I hope you know that, just like I said before, a PDF, okay, good. Then it opens your default PDF opener. It opens your default PDF app. Mine is currently opened. Let me try to just share with us what I have. Okay, so this is how it looks like, and I'm going to save it as a local PDF file. Let's say data. So now, when you save as a PDF, you know that you no longer have access to the interactivity of the reports. All you have are each page saved like images. But this is also useful in case you don't have a Microsoft account to publish via the web. You can always save as a PDF and share that. So did you get that? Okay. So let's get. Do you have any questions before I move on? Again, any questions before I move on?
Yes, I have one more question. I don't know. Maybe I should mention to see if it's going to be discussed today. Like you said last week, that this week we are going to be doing more of advanced. I don't know. But before we go into that, I wanted to try out one thing. I work with an edtech company, right? So, and I'm like, okay, let me see if I can even practice what I've learned so far, right? So, and the question is, in fact, we use Excel and Google Sheets to do analysis down here. So, and I'm like, is there a way I can, do the analysis on Power BI, directly before visualizing the data? Because if I finish it on Excel or Google Sheet, so I don't see any point bringing it. That's my feeling, bringing it to Power BI to do the visualization. So I can as well do it on Google Sheet, right? So, but my question is there a way one can just move the raw data to Power BI, analyze it there, and then visualize? I don't know if we do something like that, is it the advanced stage you are talking about? I don't know. So I just leave the floor open for you to explain. Thank you.
All right. So basically, Prince, I believe when we kick off today's class, when we kick off what we have planned for the week, you have your question answered.
Fantastic. Thank you.
All right. So now, basically, let's get straight right into today's class if we're not going to be having any question. So the first thing I'm going to be doing is to open a blank report. So please let me know if you can see my screen.
Yes, very well.
All right. So the first thing we are going to be doing is basically for this week, we are going to be moving a lot faster, particularly on things that we had already covered or tried out last week. The only thing that are going to be taking our time this week are concepts that maybe we didn't try out last week. So please, let's try to pay as much attention as we can. Don't forget, we are also working with time. So I'm going to try to load the data from my data source. So I'm going to click on get data. I already shared the CSV file that I'll be using in today's class in the classroom. So for those who have not downloaded this, please you can go ahead and download it. So I'm going to try to bring in the data into grid. Okay. So this is what the data looks like. This is what the data looks like. So we're going to be performing the ETL process here in Power BI. That is extraction, transform, and load. So I'm just going to press transform data. Thank God we already explored Power Query in Excel. That has made it a lot easier for us to set up here. All right, great. Now, from first glance, I believe we can already tell that something is not right with this data. Or am I the only one that is seeing that something is not right here?
Sorry, sorry, I'm seeing only a Power BI screen, sir.
Oh, okay. Let me just try to share Power Query screen. Okay. So are we together?
Yes, yes.
All right. Okay. Now, when you take a look at this, you see that we have, from first glance, you can already tell that something is not right with this data set that we just brought in. So that means we are going to be needing some transformations. We're going to be needing to do a little bit of transformation here. So now, the first thing we are going to be doing here is that if you take a look at this data set, you'll see that all of the columns are combined into one column, which is not in a state where we can actually load it into Power BI. So we are going to need to perform basic transformation here. Now, mind you, just to be sure, are you familiar with this Power Query interface from Excel? This applied steps pane. So what does this pane do from our Excel knowledge?
It tells us.
It
Go ahead.
shows the changes you've made to your data.
Oh, okay, interesting. So basically, you can call it a step monitor sort of thing, a step tracker for every step you take. All right. So the first thing we're going to try to do here is that we are going to try to split this column into multiple columns. We're going to try to split these columns into multiple columns. So I'm going to go ahead and click on the transform tab here. As you can see, transform right next to home. And I'll say split column. Now, can somebody tell me what a delimiter is? What is a delimiter? What do you understand by the word delimiter? If you are speaking, I'm listening.
Sorry, delimiters are what separates values. I don't know, but it separates what is meant to be in rows, or sorry, what is meant to be in cells.
Okay. Them. Okay. So basically, we can call delimiters separators, Abi. Characters like comma, like the hyphen and all of that here. Good. Now, basically, we are going to try to separate these columns by delimiter. The delimiter in this case now, when I click on by delimiter, so Power Query is going to ask us what type of delimiter separates these columns. What type of delimiter are we talking about here? And there are a few listed here: the colon, the comma, the equal sign, semicolon. Thank you. Now we have the space separating them. So I'm going to click on space. And I'm going to tell Power Query to split at every occurrence. That is, every time you find the space, split. Let there be a separation. That's why there's each occurrence of the delimiter ticked. So I'm just going to go ahead and say, okay. Are we still together? Now, can we see that this did not perform the action that we wanted. So maybe we should go ahead and undo this step. Let's undo the action from here, and let's try to split with something else. Okay. Let's try to split by tab instead. Good. Now, somebody said space earlier, and ideally, that was why I had us try out space as well. Some of these words add spaces in between them. If we try to split by space, at every occurrence of a space, Power Query would split. So the best way to have gone about it would have been to use a tab instead. That way, Power Query splitter will understand by for every tab occurrence in the existing column, split it. So that way, it's able to give us a cleaner and more comprehensive manipulation, or should I say transformation. Now, there's still something wrong here upon glance. If you look at the headers of the columns, we have our column headers in the first row here. You can see row 1, and these are our supposed headers right here. So we're going to go ahead and take another step, all in the name of trying to promote these headers. Now, we are going to go back to the home, and you see this button here, right on Power Query's reading menu, and saying use first row as headers. So I'm going to go ahead and just click on that. All right. Now you can see that we have age. All the values that we wanted as column headers are now column headers. Now, beneath this, you see Power Query trying to let us know that this column is 100% valid. There's no error. There's no empty cell. We are getting this because from the View tab, you can go ahead and make some settings. If you don't want to see this, we call this the column quality preview. We call this the column quality preview. If I turn column quality off from here, it goes off. So this just helps your transformation process. At a glance, you are able to preview, okay, is something wrong with this column? So it's always safer to keep it on, particularly if you're working with a very large data set and you don't, to save yourself the stress of having to take a glance through each of the rows. It just gives you a preview of it that, okay, for this column, you have 1,000 rows and all of them are valid. No errors, no empty cell. And that's why you have also this green bar all full here. We call it the white space. Do we understand so far? Are we still together? I hope nobody's confused. So can I proceed? Yes, sir. Okay, thank you. So now, basically, let's get, now that we are, let's just check through this data set. Let's check all the columns and see if there's any column that is not in the right state that it is supposed to be in. We have the age column as numbers, the attrition as business share. Now, whenever you are going through a data set, when you find a column with a heading that you are not familiar with, the next thing you're supposed to do is to make research about what the heading of that column might be. Is there anybody here who knows the meaning of attrition? If you do, please go ahead and tell us.
Attrition rate, it's the rate at which they left the organization.
Oh, okay. Okay, sorry, who is that? Who is that speaking?
This is ADM.
All right, Adeyemi. Thank you. So now, we have the business travel. Okay. We have the daily pay rate here, numbers. We have department, text, distance from home, education field, employee count, employee number, environment satisfaction, gender, hourly rate pay, job involvement. All right. So basically, the first thing I want us to do now is let's now try to load this data firstly. We're still coming back to Power Query, but let's try to load this in. So we try to load this in into Power BI. All right. All right, good. So we have a preview of the data here. We have a preview of the data here. Now, today, we are going to start with, I'm going to be giving us a list of the things we are going to be trying to do with this data set. Basically, more like giving us the questions for those of us who are taking notes as we proceed. So the first thing we want to try to do to make more sense of this data set is we are going to be using Power Query to create what we call conditional columns. Now, how many of us remember the conditional functions, the conditional function in Excel? Can you tell me what the conditional function is from your Excel learning? Can you tell me what the conditional function that you learned in Excel was?
The if function.
Logical functions, the ifs,
Okay.
the and.
Okay. All right. So what did you use them to do at the end? What did you use the logical functions to do?
All right, I'm sorry, I was actually eating. Okay,
Oh, okay.
we use logical functions to retrieve results based on a criteria, certain criteria or conditions.
Oh, okay. Now, see, basically, if the way to make all these things easy is approach it from the English perspective. If they say conditional function, basically, what's a condition, like a criteria? If I say, I'm only going to let you into this class if you have a laptop. So it means that the condition for joining this class is that you must have a laptop. So basically, anything conditional means we are setting a criteria. And whenever criteria are involved, you either have or you don't have. You either meet that criteria or you do not. So now, for the sake of this, the first thing we are going to try to do is the organization wants to promote staff that have not been promoted for at least 10 years. Want to promote staff that have not been promoted for at least 10 years. Now, we are going to look for the column that has to do with promotion. And you see that there's a years since last promotion column. So that means if you want to promote now, we are going to be looking for staff that their years since last promotion is, if I say at least 10 years, if I want to put that into an if function, how will I express it? If I say, okay, well, you must have been, your last promotion must have been at least 10 years ago. How do I represent that if I was using an if in an if function? Maybe trying to write the formula. Okay. So who's helping me? Who's helping me? Quickly, because of time.
Can you say it again?
Oh, okay. So I'm asking if I wanted to publish, if I wanted to say, yes, I want to promote staff, and I say that the criteria for receiving a promotion now is that it has to be a minimum of 10 years since you were lastly promoted. How am I going to write that in a formula?
Equals to, if open brackets,
Okay.
if the particular cell, I think the cell in number, you click the cell number, then lock it. You lock the column. Yes, you lock the column like part of the cell number. Then that's if it is 10. If it is 10, sorry, if it is equals to 10, yes, or equals to or greater than 10, then
That's basically what I was after. What arithmetic operator am I going to use? Am I using equal to 10? Or how am I going to write it? What arithmetic operator am I using there?
Okay.
If it's greater than or equals to
Or
10.
equals to 10, yes.
Okay. So Damilola and Adeyemi, you are saying greater than or equal to 10.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Do we all agree? Maybe we should go ahead and give it a try. All right. So let me show us how to insert conditional columns using Power Query. So we'll come to add column. You can see the add column tab here. You can see the add column tab here. And we say add column. Now we see different type of columns that we can add here. We're going to click on conditional column. Now, Power Query will bring out the conditional column tab. It will bring out the conditional column tab. Add a conditional column that is computed from other columns or values. So we are going to call this column promotion status. We're going to call this column promotion status. Now, basically, don't forget that whenever we are trying to write an if function, see this as an Excel revision. When you are trying to write a conditional function, there must be a value if true and at least a value if false. That is, okay, if the condition is met, what it should return. If the condition is not met, what should return. So now we are working with the if years since last promotion. So you see this drop down, you select the first column you're working with, and you say if column name, that's the column you are trying to perform this calculation on. That is, if years since last promotion, then you select the operator. It's very important that you know the operator to use to produce the condition. That's why I had to ask earlier. So say is greater than or equal to. You can see you already have a list of the options here. So I say is greater than or equal to. Then I'll enter my value. The question we're trying to use this to answer is that we want to find stars that are due for promotion. And the condition is that your last promotion must be at the very least 10 years ago. So I'll say 10. So it's already starting to make sense. If your year since last promotion is greater than or equal to 10, then this will now be our value if true. That is, if truly it's 10 years and above since you were last promoted. Then we are going to write due for promotion. Due for promotion. Now, you can, if you check beneath here, you see that we already have an else clause waiting down here. Because at the very least, you must have one value if true, and there must be absolutely a value if false. Okay, if all the conditions you state are not met, then what should happen? So else say not due. Do we understand?
Yes.
Yeah.
All right.
Sorry.
So now, all right, Prince.
Sorry, we had to do. I don't know where you clicked to get this add conditional column. Where did you
Okay.
click, please?
Now, basically, Prince, if you can still see my screen, if you look up to the, hold on, please just wait a second. Now, if you look up to the left side of the screen, you see we have the file tab, the home tab, transform and add column. So we have to click on add column. When you click on the add column tab, you will see conditional column right underneath it. That's how we got here. So don't forget, I requested earlier that we pay attention, because if you take your glance off for a few minutes or a few seconds, you might just miss out on the step we're taking. So Prince, did you get that?
Yes, thank you.
All right. So now I'm going to go ahead and say okay, because I already set my conditional column. Let me just walk through it again. You name that column, you set the condition, your value if true, and then your value if false. Then I'll press OK. Now, you can see from here that Power Query has gone ahead to create a conditional column. We now have a conditional column. Let's just try to verify. Now look at this person. Let's look at these false rows here. Let's just try to apply the filter and check. Okay. Let's check the columns, the rows that are due for promotion to see if our conditional function actually performed the right task. So I'll uncheck not due. Okay. Now you can see there's nobody who is showing due for promotion that their years since last promotion is less than 10. I don't know if we are still together.
Yes.
So we can now confirm that okay, our conditional function has done the right job. So I'll just go ahead and say okay, conditional column 1 inserted. Can I proceed?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Now, that was the first thing we're required to do, to add a promotion status column. Now, we are going to be another conditional column that we're going to be adding here is that we want to create a conditional column using the distance from home. We want to create a conditional column that we are going to call the distance status. Now, what is the criteria for this? Let's firstly go ahead and click on conditional column. Okay. So let's call this new column. Don't forget, similar steps. The new column name for this, we're going to say distance status. Now, let's go ahead and set our condition. Now, if that staff, their distance from work to home is greater than or equal to 20, let that staff say, let's call that very far. That is, if the value of their distance from home to work is greater than or equal to 20. So we're going to go ahead and start setting the criteria. The column we're working with is the distance from home. Our operator for this is greater than or equal to, then the value is 20. If this criteria is met, let it return very far. Let it return very far. Now, we want to add another if statement. We don't want to go to value if false yet. You see this add plus button. This is what you click on if you want to add another condition before your value if false, which is your else. So I'm going to say add clause. Now you see another else if. Now for this, if the distance from home is greater than or equal to 10, then we want it to say close. We want the distance of the staff to be close. So I'll go ahead and set the condition as well. Greater than or equal to 10. Then let the distance status of this employee be close. Now, for any staff that is now beneath 10 or beneath these conditions that we have set, let the distance status be very close. So now you see that you can add multiple, just like nested if in Excel, you can add multiple conditions, but you have only one value if false. That is, if none of these conditions are met, then it means that you are definitely going to equal to the value if false. Are we still together? So I'm going to go ahead and press OK. Now that I've So are we still together? We've created two conditional columns. We've created two conditional columns now. Now, part of the ways that will make you know that you have created a conditional column is this icon. Instead of having the regular 1, 2, 3, ABC, you're going to have a combination of both to let you know, okay, this column was brought about by a condition. Are we still together?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Now, we want to create, say, two more conditional columns. We are still in the process of transforming the data so that we'll be able to extract meaningful insights from it. All this we are doing in Power Query. So I believe this is already answering Prince's question from earlier, that is there a way you can bring your data here and make transformations before visualization? So we're going to go ahead now and try to create another conditional column. Now we are going to call this column the satisfaction rank. We are going to call this column the satisfaction rank. We are going to look for the column that has to do with how satisfactory the work the employers are with the organization. So I believe there should be a column for satisfaction. Okay, there's a column called job satisfaction. So now the staffs have been asked to rank their job satisfaction from 1 to 4. From 1 to 4. Now we want to use a conditional column to clarify what these rankings mean. Now, for any staff that has chosen 1, let their satisfaction rank be low. For any staff that has selected anything between 1 and 3, let their satisfaction score be fair. For all the staff that are selected 4, let their satisfaction score be high. So we're going to go ahead and create a conditional column. And I would like Anna. Is Anna still there?
Yes.
Okay. So I'd like Anna to walk through with me as we create the satisfaction rank conditional column. So Anna, what's the first thing we're supposed to do? Now, I want to create the satisfaction rank conditional column.
Over to column,
Okay, I'm with you. Add column.
conditional column.
Okay, conditional column.
So the new column name will be we say satisfaction rank. I don't know. What can we name
Yeah,
it?
I said satisfaction rank. Good one. Okay, satisfaction rank. All right. So now,
So if
okay,
job satisfaction, yeah,
thank
column
you. Okay, if job satisfaction.
equals 1,
Oh, okay. So for the first condition, let's go equals 1. All right.
the output will be low.
Okay. The rank should be low. Okay.
Then we click on add plus to add another.
Okay. Okay.
So else if job satisfaction
Okay.
is greater and equal to. No. I think you said from
What's-
1 to 3 should be fair. No?
Yeah. So I think we should use less than or equal to 3 here.
Yes.
Okay. Less than or equal to 3. Then it should be what?
Fair.
Okay. Fair. Okay. Now, are we still going to add another condition?
No, I don't think so. No.
Okay. So what are we doing then?
Then else it should be high.
Else it should be high. Okay. Good. Thank you. So are we good to go?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, good. Okay. We are still all right. That's a good job on that. So we've created 3 conditional columns, if I'm right. We created 3 conditional columns. Firstly, we created the promotion status column. As you can see here in the applied steps. As you can see here in the applied steps. We first created the promotion status column. Now, just to be sure, you have the formula bar here as well, showing you how these conditions are, just in case somebody sends you the report, and you're trying to go through how each of the conditional columns were generated, you'll be able to preview the formulas. Even though we didn't have to write the formula to derive it, you can still see it being expressed as formula here. I thank God I'm speaking to people who have good Excel knowledge here. So we are going to be adding another column. We are going to be adding another conditional column. Now, the company is trying to retrench certain staff. They are trying to retrench certain staff. Now, can anybody tell me what you understand by the word retrench? What does it mean to retrench?
To lay off.
Oh, okay, to lay off. That is to let go of certain staff. All right, thank you. So now, basically, the company is trying to retrench staff that have been at the company for 18 years or more. So if you've been at the company for more than 18 years or more, then they are basically saying it's time to call it a day. So that means we're going to have to create a conditional column to know the staffs that have been at the company for 18 years or more. Now we are going to check for the years at company column. That is the column we are going to be working with, years at company. So we're going to add another conditional column. And we're going to call this retrenchment status. So basically, the quality of when it comes to visualization, don't forget last week we explored the artistic side, okay, laying your framework, icons, navigation, all those things. As useful as all those things are, your visualization, like I said in the last class, must be solving problems for whatever data sets you are working with. And solving problems, like we used to say that problem solving starts with problem identification. And in problem identification, you are asking questions. You're asking the right questions, just so that you can get to provide necessary solutions. Just like when you're unwell and you go to the pharmacy or go to the clinic or go to see a doctor, they'll take a diagnosis, trying to get to know, okay, what are the symptoms you've had and all of that. So are we still on the same page?
Yeah.
Yes.
All right. So I'm going to say if years at company is greater than or equal to 18, then let us write will be retrenched. Will be retrenched. Let it be, let me use it. If not, if your years at the company is anything less than that, please remain on service. That's what our remain on service. So basically, now that I'm done with this, I'm going to press OK. And we're going to have a retrenchment status column created as well. Now that we've created the retrenchment status, let's go ahead and add the last conditional column, which will be based on this time staff performance. Staff performance. Now, if you look at the performance rating, we only have 2 entries. We have 3 and 4. Now, for the conditional column that we are going to try to create here, for the conditional column we are going to be creating here, staff whose performance rating equals 3, we'll call that low rating. Staff whose performance equals 4, we'll call that high rating. So we want to rank their performance. Don't forget, before we can create a conditional column, you have to know the column that you'll be using to set your criteria. Just like normally when you try to use an if function in Excel. So for this, the column we are working with is the performance rating column. We already previewed and saw that we have two entries, this entry 3 and entry 4. So I'll go ahead and say conditional column. We'll call this performance rank. Performance. If the performance rating equals 3, then so for this, we just say else. If you are not anything in the column that is not 3, because we confirmed that we have just 3 and 4, let it be high rating. So I'll go ahead. Now we've created 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 conditional columns. The retrenchment status column, the satisfaction rank column, the performance rank column. Prince, you are asking a question. Please, you are raising your hand. Go ahead and ask your question. Prince, if you are saying something, you're muted.
Yeah, so I have a suggestion. I don't know if what I have in mind is also what you have in mind, right? So if this is going to be used by the HR department to either do promotion or retrenchment or whatever, so I'm suggesting this column that you just created now. What if we name it the one of low rating we'll call poor performance, then the other one top performance. I don't know. Does that make sense?
Okay.
I'm just suggesting. I don't know. You can still go ahead with this
Of
one.
course, it's a suggestion. You are working. So basically, if I wanted to make a change to this now, I can make the change from the formula bar instead. Say I want to go from. So let's just make this a lot easier to work with and say low rated staff. So did anybody get that? Prince, did you get that?
Yes.
Oh, okay. So now we have our conditional columns. We have our conditional columns already created. Now, the next thing that we want to do in terms of transformation is, if you look at the okay. If you look at this data set now, you notice that we have the years in current row and we have years at company. So we want to find the years that, you see, we have the values, years at company, but we want to transform these years at company. We want to create a column called service years. We want to create a column called service years and have these same years at company in that column. Just that we want to add years to the back of each and every one of these values. We want to add years to the back of each and every one of these. So we are going to go ahead and use what we call column from examples or from add columns. You can see column from examples right up here. Now, when I click on column from examples, When I click on column from examples, you can see we have a new column already generated here. So what Power BI is going to ask me to do is to select the column that I want to work with. To select the column that I want to work with. Let me repeat that process again. Don't forget, I said what we are trying to do is to have the years at company column represented as service years. So we want these values inside this column, but we want there to be showing, take for example, this 6, we want it to be showing 6 years, 10 years, and all of that. So I'm going to go ahead and click on this drop down, column from examples. Then I'll select from selection. So that is now I'll have to select the column that I want to work with. So I'll select the years at company column. I'll select the years at company column. And I'll say 6, that is the first value. Yes. So when I press enter, what it will do is that it will automatically bring in all the values and combine them with what I am trying to add to it, which in this case is years. So I'm going to press OK. And I'm going to see that there's a new column created from examples. I don't get that process. Please signify by raising your hands so I repeat it. I did not get that process. Please signify by raising your hands so I will repeat the process. Okay. Oluwadamilola, your hand is up.
Yes.
Okay, so I'm just going to go ahead and repeat that process. Please pay attention.
Thank you very much.
Okay. So let me take out that step and try to repeat the process again. So basically, I want to create a new column called service years, but I want the values to be brought in from an already existing column, which is the years at company column. So to do this, I'm going to work with the columns from example option here, and I'll say from selection. That is from a particular column that I select. Now, I'm going to insert the first value in that column, and then insert what I want to add to that value. So if, say, I wanted to add maybe 6 balls or 6 packs to each value in that column that I selected, all I have to do is enter the text and then press enter. Automatically, Power BI would merge the value I want to add with the already existing values, and from that create a new column. That is where the word column from example comes from. That from an existing column with new values creates a new column. Oluwadamilola, do you get that now?
Yes, I did. Thank you very much.
Okay. So now I'm still going to go ahead and rename this because it's showing merged, and I want to call it service. What I want to call it is service years. So I'll go ahead and say service years. All right. Now, that being said, let's try to insert, to create another column from example. Now, we have a column that is the job level column. We have a column that is the job level column. Okay. If you look at the filter, we see we have level 1 through to level 5. So for the job level, we want to create a new column. We want to create a new job level column. So we'll be able to take out the old job level column. All we want to do is to add level to those numbers. All we want to do is to add. This is similar to flash fill in Excel. This is very similar to flash fill in Excel, such as that you can manipulate values in a column and all the other values pick up that editing. So I'm going to go ahead and say column from examples from selection. And I'll go ahead to select the column that I'll be working with, which in this case is the job level. So the first value is 2. Now for this, the level will come before. So I'll say level. Then I'll go ahead and select level. So if I try to enter, okay, give me a minute. Select the job level. Good. So the level came before the number. All I have to do was select the value, and now you can see that we now have the job level stating what level, what value belongs to. So I'll go ahead and press OK. I'm going to rename this new column and call it job level. Now I can go ahead to delete the existing job level column. I can select this now and say remove, because I now have a more comprehensive job level column. Is that okay? Did you get that? Is anybody confused so far? Can I proceed?
Yes.
Okay. Please don't let Anna be the one speaking for you. If you didn't get that, please say you didn't get it though.
All good on
Please,
my
if you
side.
don't understand, yes.
Okay, all right. Thank you, Winnie. So now, after performing those transformations, I'm going to go ahead and say, okay, let's close and apply. So I'm going to go ahead and share Power BI. All right, so can we see my screen? Now,
Yes.
okay, good. Now you see that all the columns that you worked, that you added, the conditional columns, they've also been added to the data. Just like, of course, when you create a conditional column in Excel, you get something similar to this as well. We brought in the necessary columns, and now we are, at least for, you can say, okay, for now, we are okay with what we have in terms of adding conditional columns. Now, basically, the first thing I'm going to have us do, just similarly to what we did last week, is to create, is to lay down a framework, and but before this class, for the sake of speed, I already created an existing framework, but I'd still like to show us how I did it. Or should I just import the existing framework? Or we do it from scratch here? We still have 2 days though, during the week when we are still going to. So we still have 2 meetings after this. So what do we say, guys?
Pardon?
Should we lay our
Import.
framework from start or use an already existing framework?
We can use the already existing one.
Okay. Any other person?
Unless we want different colors.
It supports.
Oh yeah, we are going to be working with should I say a different layout. It's not the same framework as last week. It's a different layout.
All right, go on figure.
Oh, okay.
Sorry.
So basically,
May I
sure.
ask? Someone asked, I think it was Prince that asked when we wanted to first start about using framework, I know. But I still don't get
Okay.
the like what makes it, because I think I've seen someone else use it in Excel when we're doing our Excel, when we were creating our Excel reports, when we didn't first create a framework or something like that. We just did it straight. And I believe with the features of Power BI too, I believe that it is possible to just do it straight. But what exactly is the significance that
Of
makes it that it's not only you? You said it. I've seen someone else do something similar, and I'm like, what is the significance of having a framework before going into the actual report?
okay. Now let me take you back to my reference from earlier. That when you are feeling unwell and you go to the hospital and say, okay. Now, regardless of how familiar the doctor might have been with your case, they will still ask you questions. Okay, what are the symptoms you've had? Even if somebody else, even if they might have attended to 10, 20 people with that sort of symptom before you that day, they'll still attend to you specifically. Now, in trying to visualize, just like last week when I said trying to build a house, laying a foundation is like the most important part. Working with a framework, there are people who draw out their frameworks using pen and paper. There are people who draw it out using their screens. Maybe for people who have touchscreen laptops, and they just go ahead and sketch out a rough work. Okay, this is how. Don't forget that visualization is also, like I said last week, is also a design part to it. So the major essence, or should I say the significance of using a framework, is that it simplifies your visualization process. Laying out the framework, you're already thinking, okay, this visual, I'm placing it here. This visual, I'm placing it here. Just like you said, it might be, it's possible to just go ahead and just visualize and without laying any framework and say, okay, as I'm going, as I'm answering this question, I'm putting this here. But just the same way when you're trying to build the house, from foundation. In fact, sometimes the house might still be, it might still be just the land that you have, and the architect is already saying, okay, we are putting the bedroom here, sitting room will be here, and all of that. But you don't necessarily have the house yet. So that's the significance that it simplifies the design process. Oladamola, did you get that?
Oh yes, it makes sense. Thank you very much.
Oh, okay. So quickly, let me think in. So first things first, before I personally come into visualize in Power BI, most times my own page is always my own page would have been designed beforehand, and most times I would have already sketched out a rough layout that okay, this is the approach I'm going to take with this um, report. So I'm just going to go ahead and say call my first page. this page one. If there's going to be an additional page, or this page 2. All right. So now let me give out the questions we'll be answering with this data set. So Oluwademola, would you be our scribe and help with the questions?
Okay, no problem.
So basically, as done before, don't forget I said that your report is not a report if you are not giving us, if you have not included insights or recommendations. Basically, what you've done, what you do if you just visualize is that you gave us just the design. Inserting insights and recommendations, okay, show that you are not just dressing up the problems, you are at least preferring what you think we can do to sustain. So I'm going to bring in the first thing I'm going to do is to bring in the homepage that was designed beforehand for this. So let me quickly get my background for this page. Please spare me a few minutes. I'm trying to bring it to you. So let me try to do that again. I'll change the fields. Good. So this will be the background for the home page. Now we are going to try to change the canvas background for the other pages to this ash color that we have in the background here. So to do that, please see there are a few questions here. Oh, okay. John, Emeka seems to be struggling with the network. John, you can just try to leave and join it again. So I'm going to try to change it. So we are going to be working with. I hope you guys can hear me clearly, though, just to be sure I'm not the issue here.
Yes, very well.
Oh, okay. Thank you. Thank you for confirming. So don't forget, I said we are working with. What we are trying to do now is just to the background that we're working with is going to be this sort of hash background. Let's go ahead. Which is the chance. All right, good. So for the sake of this, let me try to check. Let's check the so for the canvas ratio, I taught us last week how to adjust canvas ratio. Can somebody quickly help us with that? If I want to adjust the size of this canvas, how do I go about it? Quickly. Adeyemi, oh yeah,
You
quickly
go
help
to
me.
the,
Okay, Winnie, you were saying something. I'm sure.
yeah. You go to this icon beside the build visual.
Okay,
Then you go to the canvas setting,
okay,
type. You click the type, then you custom. You click the drop down on 16.9.
all right,
Yeah, then you custom.
okay. So for this, let's go 720 by 1400. So let's see if that works. Just I told you that I already created an existing framework. So let me just try to bring it in. And if we have issues with it, then we'll just try to create it. Good. So let me adjust it. So can you see? Can you see this? So this was
Yes.
already sketched before the class. So I'm asking once again, do you guys want us to quickly build this in the class or just go ahead with this already made layout?
If you would build it again, I'm not sure there will be any further analysis that will be done.
Exactly. So basically, I'm just going to be sharing the already built image with each and every one of us.
I think that's fine.
All right. So I already have a layout for both pages. Let me just go ahead and start the layout for the second page. All right. So now the idea for this is to have the KPIs right above, the slicers right to the side, a few buttons, the title of the dashboard here and all of that. So let's go ahead and let's start answering questions. Now, when it comes to, are we still together, please? When it comes to
Yes.
visualizing in Power BI, I'm very sure that most of us must have already heard people say, yeah, DAX, 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 DAX. So how many of us have heard the term DAX before? How many of us have heard the term DAX before? What do you understand by DAX? If you are saying something, please don't use the chat box. Go ahead and speak right now. I can hear you. Now, basically, sorry about that. It is raining, so I had to shut my blinds. Now, DAX is an acronym that represents data analysis expressions. Now, every visualization tool has what the maker of the visualization tool would call a unique selling point. And part of Power BI's selling point is the DAX feature that it has, such as that DAX is a formula language that we use in Power BI to create calculated columns, measures, or perform other advanced analytics. So the major essence of DAX is that it helps you to extract more insights. It makes your insights, you're able to generate more insights from regular numbers, from regular columns using DAX. Are we still together? Sorry.
We are together. We are together.
Oh, okay. Because it's already raining here. I want to be sure my network is not breaking already. All right. So now, basically, for this data that we are working with, we are going to be exploring DAX. We're going to be exploring DAX. We're going to create measures using this data set. Okay, Adeyemi, you're asking a question. Please go ahead. Your hand is up.
Yes, my question is, when are we supposed to end the class?
For the boot camp or Power BI itself,
No, for today. I mean today.
we are meant to end by 8. Oh, don't worry. Wherever we stop today, we pick up tomorrow. We're supposed to end by 8.
All right, it's fine. Thank you.
Oh, okay. Last week, I ended on Friday by 7:30 because I had to attend something. So now, basically, you see this data pane, where you have this data pane here. Basically, whenever in Power BI, whenever you are working with that, I am going to be creating what we call measures and conditional columns. It is always best practice to create those measures in a new table. Before I start talking about calculated columns and measures, let me define what measures are and what calculated columns are. But firstly, let me show us how to create a table for your DAX calculations. Now, you see your data pane. You right-click on the existing data. Now, you see that the moment I clicked on this, table tools popped up here. And it's asking new measure, quick measure, new column, new table. So I'm just going to I can go ahead and say new table from here. Or I can right click on this and say So while clicking on this, I'm just going to say new table. Now, if you notice, you will see that there's a difference between this icon here and this icon here. Can you see the? So basically, this is one of the ways to know that, okay, this table did not come with the original data set. This was a DAX. This was the table created inside the Power BI. This is a DAX table. So I'm going to create a new table. Now, for you to create a table, you have to have at the very least one column inside that table. So it will bring out, when I click on new table, Power BI will open the formula bar to me and ask me to name the table. So I'm going to call this table all measures. That is, every measure we are going to be creating will be inside this table. Now, I'm going to press enter. Look at what will happen. I'll press enter. Now, Power BI is trying to let me know that before I can create a table, the table cannot be empty. There has to be at least one column inside that table. So by default, it will generate an empty column for that table to be able to exist. So if I press enter now, you see that the table will contain a column. So when you want to create a table for your DAX calculations, number one, note that that table cannot be empty by default at the start. There must be at least one column in it. So I'm going to rename from table and call it all measures and say enter. So even if I try to delete this now, if I try to delete this column by, you see these three dots right next to it, and I say, can you see that I cannot delete? The best I can do is to hide this. And that will take away the whole column the whole table that I just created, because you cannot have a table without at least one column in it. So I'm going to go ahead and repeat that process. I'm going to go ahead and repeat that process of creating a new table. And renaming the table and calling it all measures. So that means before we can hide this blank column, we are going to need to create a measure. We are going to need to create a measure. Now, what is a measure? Basically, a measure is a calculated field that can be used in your visualization. More like trying to make more sense of an already existing field in your data set. Now, take for example, if I wanted to find the total number of staff, if I wanted to find the total number of staff for that, use this, I can go ahead and select a card and say, okay, let me bring in a card. All right, now I have a card. And let me just say, what column do I know would have unique entries? Let me see. And so basically, I have the total number of entries here. I can say, okay, let this be total number of staff because we have 1,470 unique entries. But using that, if I want to create a measure, I can create a measure specifically to return the total number of employees. So basically, what that seeks to help you do in your visualization is to generate more insights, to make your insights expansive. Not that the normal visualizations are not enough, but you know, there's when you are eating, there are some things they say supplements and all of that. You say, okay, this thing is an additive, just to ensure you are getting the best of what you are doing. That should be the approach towards that. So for those of us who are just learning Power BI, is knowledge of that important? Yes, it is. Not knowing too much about it doesn't make you less of an analyst. Knowing about it does make you more competent too. So do we get that? So I'm going to be sending the first and the second, these wallpapers that I use, these backgrounds. And for the home page, I'm going to be sending 2 different home pages for us to select. So mind you, from tomorrow, we are going to start with creating measures for the sake of our visualization. And we'll get into the visualization properly. So do we have any questions from anybody? Do we have any questions? Adeyemi, Ayotunde, Anna, Paul, Winnie, Yetunde. Do I have any questions from any one of you?
Not any from my side.
All right, Winnie. Adeyemi, how about you?
What did you say?
I said, do you have any questions for me?
Not at all. Not at all.
All right. So once again, I want to thank you guys for joining me and joining on time. Please, I want to plead with us that tomorrow we join in on time and ensure that you are up to speed for tomorrow's class. So we are picking up from where we left off together tomorrow. Let's join on time so that we can wrap up what we want to do on time. So thank you very much, guys, for joining me. I'll see you in tomorrow's class. I'll be creating a submission pane on the Google Classroom so we can submit our reports. For those of us who have already created it, you can choose to upload either the PDF or the PPIX file. Just ensure that you have a submission. So, all right then, I guess I would see us in tomorrow's class. Thank you once again.
Thank you. A good night, everyone.
Thank you. Enjoy the rest of your evening.
Yeah, and you too, Winnie. Thank you, Hannah.